Hello there, welcome to CoreTV News at 4. I am Gete. Workers at the Presidential Villa Abuja have reported for duties early and readiness to formally receive President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo. Following the inauguration ceremony on Friday, the duo is expected to resume their offices officially for the first time today. There were speculations that with his President Muhammadu's disciplined posture, he might want to take workers unawares by reporting to work early. As at the time of filing this report, Buhari and Osinbajo are yet to arrive at the presidential villa. Both are, however, yet to relocate to their official residence in the villa. President Muhammadu Buhari has announced the first set of appointments into his administration with immediate effect. The president this evening named Mr. Femi Adesina and Garba Shehu as being his spokesman. Yemi Adesina will serve as Special Advisor, Media and Publicity, while Garba Shehu will be the new Senior Special Assistant, Media and Publicity. The president has also approved the appointment of Lawal Abdullahi Kazaure as the State Chief of Protocol Scope. Mr. Adesina as the current president of the Nigerian Guild of Editors and serves as the Managing Director, Editor-in-Chief of the Sun newspapers. Garba Shehu served as the Director, Media and Communications to the APC presidential campaign. He has also served as the President of the Guild of Editors 16 years ago. Abdullahi Kazaure is a career Foreign Service official and currently serves in Aso Rock Villa as a Special Assistant Presidential Matters. The Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project, SERAP, has urged President Muhammadu Buhari and Vice President Yemi Osinbajo to make public the details of their declared assets. The group made the request in a statement issued by Adetokunbo Momoni, its executive director in Lagos. The Rights Advocacy Group says the public declaration of their assets would be consistent with Buhari and Osinbajo's anti-corruption credentials and their promises to the electorate. It claims the request followed the declaration of assets last week by the President and his vice to the Code of Conduct Bureau as required by the Constitution. Serap recalls that the President said before the election that he would publicly declare his assets and liabilities and encourage all his appointees to publicly declare their assets and liabilities as a precondition for appointments. According to the body, public disclosure of assets will give the general public a true picture of Buhari and Osinbajo's assets and will send a powerful message that it is not going to be business as usual with this government. It said the move would follow the best practices as laid down by late President Umaru Yar'Adua and boost government's fight against corruption and impunity of the perpetrators. The group then called for amendment in the laws relating to declaration of assets to include the requirement of public disclosure to ensure it is in line with international standards such as the UN Convention Against Corruption. Ijaw youths under the auspices of Ijaw Youth Council Worldwide have faulted President Muhammadu Buhari for the December deadline set for the termination of the presidential amnesty program for ex-Niger Delta militants. The IYC claims through the Niger Delta people had expected that the amnesty program would have a terminal date. The decision by Buhari to terminate the program should include a laid-down plan to clean up the Niger Delta environment. It also said such termination should take into consideration the implementation of the nation's Environment Protection Report on Ogoni, as well as tackle the menace of oil theft in the region. The IYC, in a statement by its spokesperson, Eric Omare, says the council appreciated the fact that the amnesty program could not continue forever and therefore must have a terminal date. The statement reads, however, the question on the lips of the beneficiaries and stakeholders in the Niger Delta region are, what would happen to those that had not been trained as at December 2015 and those still undergoing training or have not completed their training? The termination of the program would throw up challenges for beneficiaries of the program who are still undergoing training and are at different levels of their training. The INYC expects the federal government to address the fear of these classes of ex-agitators who are in different parts of the world and are worried that their training may be affected if the program is terminated in December 2015. The group says it had expected President Buhari to address issues such as cleaning up of the Niger Delta environment, implementation of the UNEP report on Ogoni, and tackling the menace of oil theft, which had greatly contributed to environmental degradation in the Niger Delta. The chairman of Fika local government area of Yobe State, Baba Abare, on Sunday told journalists that the Boko Haram sect attacked two Yobe towns, Fika and Ngauda. Abare said the militants shot sporadically at the two towns to scare away people so as to have ample opportunity to loot. He explained that the major targets of the militants were shops in which they looted several food items as well as beverages, saying, however, that no life was lost during the attack. He said they proceeded from Ngauda to Fika town, the headquarters of Fika local government area of Yobe State. Mohammed said during the assault on Fika, the terrorists burned down the local government secretariat, the magistrate court and the divisional police station. A policeman who spoke on the condition of anonymity said the attackers invaded the two towns between 7:30 and 9 a.m., looting several shops and cut away with several food items. He added that the militants stormed the areas in two Toyota Hilux vans and took away several motorcycles which they stole in the area. The Yobe State Police Commissioner Marcos Danladi declined to comment on the attack, saying the military joint task force was the only body that was authorized to speak on such matter. Fika and Ngauda communities have suffered several cases of Boko Haram attacks since the commencement of the sect's violence campaign, as the communities also share boundaries with Gujba and Gulani LGAs, which under the captivity of the militant group for so long before it was liberated a few months back by the federal troops. An improvised explosive device believed to be planted by suspected members of the Boko Haram sect has exploded at the popular market, Gamburu Market in Maiduguri, leaving 4 persons critically injured. A member of the youth vigilante group in the town, Abamodu, confirmed this. In the last 48 hours, the Borno state capital has come under the attack of the terrorists on no fewer than 3 occasions. On Saturday morning, the insurgents were repelled by the military when an attempt was made to invade the town. It was gathered that 16 persons were killed in that attack. On Saturday afternoon, a mosque located at the main market in the town, Monday Market, was attacked by a suicide bomber, during which 26 persons were reportedly killed and 28 others injured. The attack on Gamburu Market, according to Modu, happened at about 1:30 p.m. This is said caused pandemonium in part of the town as people hurriedly locked up their shops and fled for safety, while the streets were also deserted. Gamburu Market is one of the markets in the city that has witnessed series of deadly attacks by the insurgents in recent past. The Nigerian and Egyptian militaries are to partner on intelligence sharing and training to combat the threat by Boko Haram and Islamic State of Iraq and Syria terrorists in the two countries. The Egyptian Foreign Affairs Minister, Sameh Shoukry, who said this in an interview with journalists in Abuja on Saturday, stated that President Muhammadu Buhari would soon visit Cairo for talks on military and bilateral relations between Egypt and Nigeria. According to him, Nigerian and Egyptian militaries would collaborate and work together to degrade the capability of the two terrorist organizations and end the security crisis in North and West Africa. The minister observed that Boko Haram and ISIS have the same objective of overthrowing the governments in Nigeria and Egypt, stressing that it would take a robust partnership between the two countries to exterminate the terrorist group. Shoukry explained that the Egyptian army had been tackling the ISIS terrorists with precision to reduce collateral damage, stressing that the fight against terrorists in Africa must be comprehensive and total. Hundreds of people at the internally displaced people camp in Abuja have called for fresh action by the new administration on the terrorist group Boko Haram to enable them return home. Many of them who have found refuge at the camp for close to 6 years complained of lack of attention by the government, say for the charity or religious groups who donate clothing and food items from time to time. Surrounded by a thick forest, the IDP camp is complete with everything from utility store to market and recreation centers. Most of the camp's residents have been there for more than 6 years since their villages came under attack by the Boko Haram sect, while others from surrounding towns have lived there for close to 10 years. The extent of the camp for several years is largely unchanged, but the population has grown and the residents wait in anticipation to see what the change in government would translate to in their lives. Former Governor of Adamawa State, Admiral Murtala Nyako, returned to Nigeria on Saturday. Nyako, who arrived from London on a Lufthansa airline flight, landed at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, around 4:42 p.m. The former governor was received at the airport by former Governor of Gombe State, Senator Danjuma Agoje, former Governor of Zamfara State, Senator Sani Yerima, his son Abdulaziz, and other political allies. One of his aides, who spoke with our correspondent on condition of anonymity, said Nyako decided to return to Nigeria following the inauguration of Muhammadu Buhari as president. Nyako fled the country following his controversial impeachment by the Adamawa State House of Assembly. His impeachment, which is still contesting in court, was said to have been as a result of his disagreement with former President Goodluck Jonathan. The newly elected president of the African Development Bank, AFDB, Akinwumi Adesina, says his emergence as the AFDB president would not have been possible without the support of the Nigerian President Muhammadu Buhari and former President Goodluck Jonathan. This is contained in a statement by Adesina on Sunday, May 31st, which states, "I would like to give my special thanks to a few people in particular without whom the success would not have been possible. Former President Goodluck Jonathan for nominating me, his confidence and his steadfast, enthusiastic support. President Muhammadu Buhari for his strong endorsement and rallying support. Ras and Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala for her vital role and tremendous efforts in delivering this successful outcome." He also promised to work hard with all African governments to deliver more inclusive economic growth across the African continent, expressing hope in the prospect of building on the works of his predecessor, Donald Kaberuka at the AFDB. The former Nigerian Minister of Agriculture was elected on Thursday in Abidjan, the capital of Ivory Coast, where the African Development Bank annual general meeting held. He beat 7 other contenders for the top job. The cherry news came as Nigeria prepared for the inauguration of President Muhammadu Buhari on Friday, May 29th. The publisher of Orient Daily newspaper, Godwin Ezemo, on Sunday asked President Muhammadu Buhari not to appoint his cabinet members based on sentiment if he wants to genuinely fight corruption. Ezemo, who stated this in an interview with a journalist in Abuja, explained that past leaders with good intentions in the country were usually let down by their cabinet members who were only interested in amassing wealth. He noted that President Jonathan meant well for the country and would have performed better than he did if he had appointed the right persons to work with him. A former managing director of the Nigerian Communications Satellite Limited, Masaniyu Ahmed Rufai, has asked the new administration of President Muhammadu Buhari to discontinue with the plan by the federal government to privatize the company. In a statement made available in Abuja on Sunday, Ahmed Rufai said selling the satellite infrastructure to private sector operators would have negative implications on the country's national security. He added that it was also wrong for the federal government to propose the sale of a satellite that was under a lien since the country had not finished paying the company that constructed the spacecraft. NICOMSAT workers recently petitioned the former Minister of Communications Technology, Omobola Johnson, over the proposed sale of the company and alleged the impending sack of 150 staff of the organization. In the petition dated May 5, the workers under the aegis of the National Union of Postal and Telecommunications Employees said the manner the proposed sale of the satellite company was being rushed at the terminal end of the last administration left much to be desired. The workers contended that the viability of an Incomsat would not have been an issue if the federal government had directed government establishment to patronize Incomsat rather than continue to patronize foreign vendors of satellite bandwidth services. It's CoreTV News at 4. We'll take a break. Stay with us.
Women share the most amazing thoughts on national issues, and they do it passionately.
For most men that are educated, that are exposed, will see nothing to it.
The population and the level of poverty made me cry. No infrastructural development whatsoever. And you tell me Lagos is working?
That was an accident, and it was a one-off thing. Other than that, there has never been any situation in Nigeria where a Nigerian attacked anybody just because of where they came from.
Sharing the adorable word of women in politics every week, only on CoreTV News.
Welcome back. It's CoreTV News at 4. Thanks for staying tuned. We continue with the rest of our stories. The Northeast Youth Initiative Forum has called for the position of Nigeria's Senate President to be zoned to the Northeast geopolitical zone as compensation for aligning with the federal government for the first time since the democratic dispensation. At a press conference in Damaturu, the Yobe state capital, the national president of the coalition, Dauda Gombe, called on the senators-elect of the 8th session to rally behind a candidate from the Northeast. The claim giving the Northeast an opportunity to head the Senate would be in preparation for the trouble of the insurgency that the zone has passed through for over the years. Gombe stressed that the candidate for the exalted position must have vast experience and should not have any criminal record, be it now or previously. The group revealed that since the restoration of democracy in 1999, Hamid Lawan has been in the National Assembly and had the requisite experience to lead the upper chamber of the Assembly more than anyone else from the zone and should be considered for the exalted position. The group also commended President Muhammadu Buhari for directing the command headquarters to relocate to Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, to tackle the Boko Haram insurgency. Members said the directive confirmed the president's seriousness to fight insurgency in the Northeast. Ekiti State government has described an alleged claim by the All Progressives Congress APC lawmakers that they have not been paid their entitlement as false and dishonesty. The government said in a statement issued on Sunday by the State Commissioner for Finance, Tony Ojo, that the lawmakers duly acknowledged receipt of checks for their payment last week Wednesday through his office. The government was reacting to a statement supposedly issued by one Wole Olujobi, who claimed to be the lawmakers' spokesperson, that Governor Ayodele Fayose placed an embargo on the lawmakers' bank account and did not pay them their entitlement. The Ondo State 7th Assembly has been dissolved by its Speaker, Jumoke Akindele. Reports say Akindele dissolved the 2011-2015 legislature after a valedictory sitting of the House in Akure. Akindele says the 7th Assembly had not only seen but conquered and scored the Assembly high in terms of performance. The Deputy Speaker, Dare Emiola, Akoko Southwest 1, claims it was a rare privilege and honor to have served in the Assembly. The Majority Leader, Ifedayo Akinsoinu, Ondo West 2, said the House moved 57 motions and passed 19 bills. In the face of Nigeria's oil revenue crisis, Kano State government is set to embark on an aggressive, internally generated revenue program backed by an anti-corruption agency that will prosecute corrupt government officials. Addressing journalists on his new master plan, Kano State Governor Umar Ganduje said his administration will be committed to serving the good people of Kano State. Ganduje said that he would begin with a rigorous drive for internally generated revenue to be able to complete the ongoing project and introduce new ones. In addition, Ganduje will establish an anti-corruption agency to fight anyone who may be involved with any form of corruption. Although Ganduje would have to settle a debt liability of 379 billion naira incurred from the government of Kwankwaso, he was optimistic about his master plan. Chances of success insisting that the huge debt will not stop him from performing. On the security situation, Ganduje said that he would soon set up a security trust fund as part of steps to bring the security problems in the state to an end. The trust fund will be charged with the responsibility of sourcing funds to assist various security agencies in the state. Niger State Governor Abubakar Sani Bello has appointed Shehu Danyaya, a retired civil servant, as the secretary to the state government SSG. Others appointed are Mikhail Mitoshahi, a former member of the House of Representatives, as the chief of staff, Dr. Ibrahim Doba, a teacher and a columnist with the Daily Trust, as a chief press secretary. The governor also named Haruna Maman as the director of protocol and Yusuf Wiley as the senior special assistant timekeeping and schedule. These appointments are with immediate effect. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo on Sunday formally took over the leadership of the Villa Chapel located inside the presidential Villa Abuja. The chapel, built by the administration of former President Olusegun Obasanjo, always have the president or the vice president that is a Christian as the political head, while the president's or vice president's chaplain is the spiritual head. Former President Goodluck Jonathan would have handed over the chapel to Osinbajo penultimate Sunday when he attended service in the worship center for the last time, but for the vice president's absence. Osinbajo attended service in the chapel for the first time on Sunday, accompanied by his wife, Dolapo Bishop Walioke of the Sword of the Spirit Ministries, Senior Pastor Living Waters Limited Church, Pastor Laddie Thompson, and other clergymen. The Vice President, who himself is a pastor, delivered a goodwill message to the congregation and did the benediction. He later proceeded to the Children's Church, where he prayed and took photographs with the children. He was also joined by members of his entourage. Sheikh Lawal Adams has now been confirmed as the chief imam of Jos Central Mosque. Decisions were reached Thursday at the Joint Executive Committee meeting of the Damatu Nasrul Islam Jos North Local Government Chapter and the Jos Central Mosque Committee, held at the boardroom of its secretariat. Sheikh Lawal Adam, who had been the deputy chief imam of the Jos Central Mosque since 2009, replaced the late chief imam Zakaria, who died last week after a brief illness. The tussle between the contenders for the seat of Ogoga of Ikere may be heading for a dangerous trend. This is confirmed as the Council of Princes and Princesses and Kingmakers are now at loggerheads. The conglomeration of Omowa says the selected candidate by the Kingmakers is not a prince, while the Kingmakers accuse the Omowas of mischief-making and other situations leading to name-callings and misguiding. Meanwhile, the Oba's market in Ikere has been under lock and key since the demise of the former Ogoga last week. Rashid completes the story.
Ikere Ekiti, the second largest town in Ekiti State, is no doubt a strategic point in the state, also being a one-town local government. But since the demise of the last Ogoga of Ikere or Badegboye Akaejo last August, there has been intensifying bids by princes of various ruling houses to occupy the vacant stool. But in the recent, the hitherto private process is becoming public issue, with the stakeholders sharply divided. The Council of Princes and Princesses, alongside representatives of the three ruling houses, at a joint briefing rejected the selection of one Jimmy Adu, saying he is not a prince. But this was dismissed by James Ogunlade, secretary of the Ogbenote ruling family.
Surprisingly, falsely claimed to be a member of the Ogbenote ruling houses, whereas he has no link with the Ogbenote ruling houses, and neither is he a prince.
Gabriel Adu, father to Jimmy Adu, was once a family head, say around 70s. The father is a freeborn of Ogbenote ruling house.
The Omowas also accused the Kingmakers of handpicking Jimmy Adu, but the Kingmakers say they have done the right thing as directed by the Ifa Oracle.
Rather than for the Kingmakers to consult the Ifa Oracle as required by the tradition, native law and custom of Ikere Ekiti on the Ogoga chieftaincy title, they came up with a piece of paper containing 40 kingmakers out of the 21 traditional kingmakers in Ikere Ekiti.
Voted, if I spoke, we wrote everything. The chairman, the secretary of the local government was there, and we packed everything for sent to Ado.
As the Omowas accuse the kingmakers of bribery, the kingmakers insist they have chosen the right candidate, stressing that the supported candidate of the Omowas, Benga Ruliba, does not even enjoy the backing of his father.
A transparent selection and appointment of a new Ogoga because of peace and progress, and in order to avert any violence, anarchy, and chaos.
Bribery is general. They will say, if you are here now, they will say, I bribe you. The father of the last man came with somebody else. Somebody else came with the sole father, came with somebody else.
As the battle for Ogoga still rages on, the residents of Ikere appears to bear the brunt, especially those having shops at the Obas market, which must be closed upon the death of the king and to be opened only at the coronation of another. How long the shops will remain closed, only time will tell. Rashid, CoreTV News, Ikere Ekiti.
The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission is set to arraign 6 top executives of the Central Bank of Nigeria implicated in a mega scam involving the theft and recirculation of the faced and mutilated currencies. EFCC said in a statement that the suspects are to be docked before a federal high court sitting in Ibadan, Oyo State, from Tuesday, June 2nd, 2015 to Thursday, June 4th, 2015. They include Patience Eye, Abuja, Falabi Olufemi, Lagos, Kolawole Babalola, Ibadan, Olani Ron Adeola, Ibadan, Fatai Adekunle, Head Security CBN Ibadan, and Ilori Sunday Akure. The remaining 16 suspects are drawn from various commercial banks who were found to have conspired with the CBN executives to swing the heists. The Commission spokesman Wilson Jarin disclosed that the suspects were to destroy a large stock of the faced currency, but they substituted them with newspapers neatly cut to naira sizes and proceeded to recycle the defaced and mutilated notes. He noted that the scam had been going on for years until EFCC received a petition on November 3, 2014, alleging that over 6 billion naira was discreetly recycled top CBN executives at the Ibadan branch. The Chief Judge of Nasarawa State, Justice Sulaiman Diko, has pardoned 16 inmates awaiting trial in Lafia Prison. Diko pardoned the inmates in Lafia Prison during a 4-day tour of prisons across the state. Reports say out of the 16 inmates released, 12 were released outrightly, while 4 were granted bail on self-recognition. The inmates released were Muhammad Saleh, Maman Adamu, David Danjuma, Abdullahi Inusa, Adamu Zakari, Useni Saidu, Ruwa Umaru, Mustafa Obeka, Jibrin Ismail, Emmanuel Rabo, Sunday James, and Nathaniel Abi. Those granted bail on self-recognition include Musa Halidu, Yakubu Musa, Yusuf Haruna, and Aliyu Yusuf. The Chief Judge says the visit was part of his duties aimed at decongesting the prisons in the state and to ensure justice to inmates who were wrongly detained. He therefore advised them to desist from committing any crime that would make them come back to the prison. Diko also urged them to exhibit good character that would make them acceptable in the society. It's CoreTV News at 4. We'll take another break. Please stay with us.
Every day of the week will bring to you divergent views on news making the headline.
If people who commit crime are being rewarded with national honors, with national appointments, then where are we going in this country?
It's not about whether it was Jonathan or whether you are going to have a Buhari. It's the kind of political structure we run.
Sometimes it gets confrontational.
We are talking about a Buhari who at 41 became head of state. The man did not exhibit the attribute of somebody that is strong intellectually.
So, comrade, you're saying if you become governor, you're going to bring back Okada?
Of course.
You will bring back the market women on the streets?
Excuse me, don't put words into my mouth.
On Core Digest, we bring all of this to the court of public opinion, where you are the judge.
Welcome back. Thanks for staying tuned with us now. For more information on CoreTV News, you can reach us on our social media platforms on Facebook, facebook.com/CoreTV News. On Twitter at CoreTV News NG. And on YouTube at youtube.com/CoreTV for the Space News. Brazil beat Nigeria's Flying Eagles 4-2 in a dramatic and hugely entertaining game at the new Plymouth's Taranaki Stadium at the ongoing FIFA Under-20 World Cup in New Zealand. Judivan, who would go on to play a huge role, slipped in Joao Pedro and the overlapping right-back's low cross set by Gabriel Jesus for a crisp close-range finish. Brazil were good value for this early lead, having started the sharpener of the two sides, but it was not long before Nigeria began flexing their muscles. Indeed, the Flying Eagles had already hit the post when they drew level just 7 minutes after going behind. They sent Nigerian confidence soaring, and they added a second after 28 minutes with yet another well-crafted strike. This time, the net bulked at the end of a sleek breakaway. Partly was restored before halftime as Jesus, the scorer of Brazil's opening goal, turned provider with another brilliant pass. First, Bochila put them in front just before the hour mark with a low 25-yard shot that served widely before clipping the inside of the post on its way in. Then a calamitous error by Naholo gifted Brazil the points, with the goalkeeper allowing the ball to scream through legs and enabling Judivan to squash the ball home from a few centimeters out. The loss pushed Nigeria into third place and Brazil into second place in the group after Hungary beat Korea 5-1 in the Group E match. Manchester United will find out on 7th of August who they will face in the playoff round of the Champions League. Louis van Gaal's side finished 4th in the Premier League, looking to return to the group stages of the competition after a one-season absence. The three-time winners could face 2004 finalists Monaco, who beat Arsenal in the last 16. This season, the Red Devils could also come up against other unseeded teams such as Lazio or Sporting Lisbon, Moscow, Panathinaikos, Rapid Vienna, Sparta, Prague, and Young Boys make up the rest of the possible opponents. United missed out on playing in the tournament during the 2014-2015 season after finishing 7th under David Moyes in his sole season as manager under Sir Alex Ferguson. They appeared in Europe's elite competition for 18 consecutive campaigns between 1996 and 2014. The last time they played in the qualifiers was 10 years ago, overcoming Hungarian side to advance. Defending champion Maria Sharapova is out of the French Open after losing in the 4th round against 13th seed Lucy Safarova. The Czech 28-year-old won 7-6, 6-4 to progress to the quarterfinals for the first time in her career. Russia's Sharapova has reached the final of the competition at Roland Garros in the previous 3 years. Sharapova will now face Gabin Muguruza in the last 8 after the Spaniard beat Italy Flavia Pentena 6-3, 6-4. It is Sharapova's earliest defeat at Roland Garros since 2010. The legal authority for U.S. spy agencies to bulk collect Americans' phone data has expired after the Senate failed to reach a deal. Republicans' presidential hopeful Rand Paul blocked a Patriot Act extension and it lapsed at midnight. However, the Senate didn't vote to advance the White House-backed Freedom Act, so a new form of data collection is likely to be approved in the coming days. The Freedom Act imposes more controls after revelations by Edward Snowden. The former National Security Agency contractor first exposed the extent of the data collection in 2013. The White House described the expiry of the deadline as an irresponsible lapse by the Senate. The failure to reach a deal means that security services have temporarily lost the right to bulk collect Americans' phone records to monitor or lone wolf terror suspects and to carry out roving write-ups of suspects. The government can still continue to collect information related to any foreign intelligence investigations. Analysts also said there could be workarounds to allow continued data collection in some cases. Authorities could try to argue that all older legal provisions, so-called grandfather clauses, still apply. A Senate vote on the Freedom Act can come no earlier than 1 local time on Tuesday. Two Al Jazeera journalists are set to appear in a court in the Egyptian capital, Cairo, for their much-delayed retrial. Monday's hearing will be the fifth in the retrial of Baha Mohammed and Mohammed Fahmy. Prosecutors have accused the two of spreading false news and having ties to the former President Mohamed Morsi's Muslim Brotherhood group. Charges with the journalist and Al Jazeera vigorous reject. Another Al Jazeera journalist, Peter Greste, also faces the same charges, but was deported back to his native Australia in February this year. Greste was told by the judge that he must appear for the retrial or he will be formally declared on trial in absentia. And that's our news for this hour. Thank you so much for staying on with us. Please join us again. I am Gift or Getter.